Did God know Adam and Eve was going to sin before he created them exactly the way they were? Because if he knew, like from my naturalist perspective, I believe that I can't function, I can't be conscious if I drive a stake through my brain. I can't just all of a sudden be like, well, I choose to still go on. Like I'm controlled by this thing in my head. I'm controlled by my brain. Like I can't help it. I have to. I'm a slave to the biological processes. I'm depressed, I take an antidepressant. If it's one that suits the type of serotonin that I need, I stop being depressed. If I'm anxious and I take a Valium, I'm no longer anxious. Like my brain is how I experience everything. It's like I'm trapped, but I can't use my consciousness to start affecting other things in the world, right? But if we have like a hill, right, and there's like a tree, let's say there's like a shrub, a tree here, and there's like a bunch of rocks. Let's say we have a rock up the top here, okay? And we push this rock down the hill. If I know every single thing that's going to happen, if I know every single variable, so if I know the velocity, if I know the acceleration, if I know the friction of the rock, if I know the wind speed, defined as W here, if I know everything it's going to collide with, the angles, if I know everything, if I know all these things, we can determine with 100% accuracy where the rock's going to end up. It's going to end up here, okay? Now, if we were to play this back again, right, all the same variables, exactly the same, the rock would 100% land here every single time. Doesn't matter how many times you do it, every single time, the rock would land here. Okay? Not where the X's are, but like actually here. So to me, the brain is just a much, much, much more complicated version of this rock and a hill. Okay, there's like neurons that are formed. It's based off the genetic code. It's brain chemistry is based off the genetic code. How it all works is based on genetic code. If anyone wants to check out youtube.com/deepdrinks, you can go check out Shannon Q explain exactly where she thinks consciousness comes from, and how she doesn't even think it's possible for something like a soul to be able to manipulate the brain. She studied psychology. She knows a lot of neuroscience, and she goes all through it, right? So to me, this is what our brains are, all right? Brain. So our brains are just a much more complicated version of this. Okay. Now, what also affects the brain is the environment. Okay. So environment. Okay. So this is also playing a role. So environment includes like the foods you eat, where you grew up. Like if you were, how if you were shown pornography at an early age, you're much more likely to get addicted to pornography when you're older, or sex when you're older. You wire those things in your brain. If you if you're fed a lot of like certain foods, you'll have certain reactions. If you live in Chernobyl, you're going to have radiation poisoning. It's going to affect your cognitive abilities, etc. The environment, beyond just like the actual environment, but like things outside of your brain affect your brain, okay? And those two things seem to, for me, to sum up a deterministic universe, right? Our universe is deterministic. And so when we have Adam and Eve, I won't draw boobs. I'll just do hair. But I was tempted to draw boobs. Fuck, I'm a child. So you got Adam and Eve. Their brains are just these things. And the environment, the Garden of Eden, is just this thing. They're the only two things that are affecting anything. And if God, the creator of the universe, knows everything, he's omnipresent, he knows absolutely everything about everything. He's like, and he's all powerful and he's all loving. Like he created everything. And he created this situation in which they could not choose anything else but to eat the fruit. There was no other option for them but to eat the fruit, right? They couldn't do anything else, because the only way you can get around this is if you say, and I've heard Christians say this, yep, there is no other option and God's just evil. or not evil, but he's like, that's just how it is. And that's what Calvinists have told me. Yep, sorry, that's just how the universe is. That's how God set it up. Or the other thing you can do is say God doesn't know everything. And that would actually make more sense to me, because when God is walking through the Garden of Eden, he's calling out to Adam and Eve, "Where are you hiding? Like, where are you?" Right? Like, that's part of like the story in Genesis. But if you believe that God is all-knowing and all-powerful, you cannot subscribe to free will. Like, to me, it just makes no sense. Looking at this, okay, terrible tree, by the way. The tree looks fine objectively. I'm an authority at looking at trees. It's okay.